Welcome to the Awaken the Awesome podcast with your host, Olivier Day. This is Awaken the Awesome, a podcast where we acknowledge that we are all in this together. Through enlightening conversations and personal insights, we like to engage with individuals just like you who show us how they are bringing a little bit of awesomeness along their individual journeys. Our hope is to inspire you to always keep pushing and to stay awesome along the way. Who you choose to allow into your circle has a direct, undeniable impact on your overall process, mindset, and energy. This is still a work in progress for me as I learn to navigate around the habits, processes, and people that are instrumental to this overall mission. In that regard, it is definitely a blessing when you can surround yourself with like-minded, talented individuals, the likes of my next guest, who never fail to lead by example on their own path towards achieving greatness through undeniable skill and consistent effort. An amazing photographer, his body of work has been featured in many well-known publications with a client list that keeps stretching as his reputation and notoriety cannot be ignored. But don't just take my word for it. Take a look at his Instagram feed to witness what happens when experience speaks with heart, curiosity, and a willingness to keep pushing the creative envelope. Despite the grueling demands of the trade, Richard still finds the time to be the dedicated husband and committed father that I know him to be. On this conversation, two fellow warriors get to catch up as Richard and I discuss on the importance of staying disciplined, accepting the often overlooked cost of success, creating balance, and not letting the noise distract you. So let's get into this. Awaken the Awesome, episode 118 with Richard Lecoin. Here we go. So, as always, as courtesy obliges, it's always a thrill to say welcome to esteemed guests. But for this particular circumstance, as it always is, it's always nice to connect with your friends, people that you not only connect with and align in this path called life and the universe, but some people that you're close to, with friendship and lifelong interactions notwithstanding. But someone I really do respect, not just as a photographer, a talented photographer, a very ferocious entrepreneur, a dedicated father and husband, and an all-around awesome gent. Richard Lecoin, thank you so much for yet again accepting another invitation and being another, welcome, to the Awaken the Awesome podcast. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Of course, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Always.
This second time, always a pleasure. I told you, anytime, I'm ready.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. As always, a lot of people, because you're one of the first guests of the early stages of this podcast. We haven't connected since June of 2018, and it's now in 2020. We've all been doing great things. As life happens, but it was always wonderful to always keep in touch. We don't talk all the time every day, but it's always nice, first of all, to keep in touch because, as we're saying off the air, it's always nice to connect with people who you align with. Every time we have a conversation, it's always empowering, it's always supportive, and I always appreciate your wonderful support. And it's great to align with people. And again, throughout all the conversation we have, and again, all the messages that we try to promote throughout this podcast, it's always important to make sure you're surrounded by the right people, near or far, because your support system is very important to your journey and your overall growth. And why I wanted to connect with you this evening, and it's something that we talked a little bit earlier in the day, leading up to the recording. It's something I've been observing, and again, it's probably going to come off very condescending, but you and I have never shied away from having very rigorously honest conversations about life and the grind and success and the journey. And we just open it up because you take any type of guru or expert of a lot of people that you look up to, whatever that road is for you, whether the Gary Vaynerchuks of this world, the Richard Bransons of this world, the Bezos, the Jay-Z's or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're always founding, their very core values that always step around, just are very always at part of the equation of their success, whether it's, just consistency, whether it's passion, whether it's not being afraid of failure. But to me, it was one very basic word, which I think also resonates with your overall portfolio and your overall journey. And for me, it's discipline, because I was raised very traditionally, so some things are always basic for me. Something as basic as waking up in the morning. My morning routine is very basic. Between 4:30 and 5, I'm already up. That's my thing, whether I had a really, really crappy night or, I'm waking up fully energized. But I have the consistency and rigor and discipline to wake up around 4:30 and 5. And I think that translates to your work as well. To anybody who has not analyzed or, taken a gander at Vishal's overall IG portfolio, it's something that is amazing and it's captivating. It is wonderful work and it never ceases to impress, to impact and empower because you
Thank
show
you.
up and it's not something that, because again, I am a very talented wordsmith, but I don't throw words out there into the universe because it's something that is consistent. And again, it just translates for me, not just because I know you, but it's also because it's the message that I see. I see consistency, but I also see discipline. And that's why I want to open up the conversation. How important is discipline to you in terms of work ethic, in terms of, just the work that we put out? And again, the reputation that precedes us. What does the word discipline mean for you, Rich?
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you very much for this introduction. And thank you for being able to appreciate my work and my art, as I would say. Uh, in this social media age, in this scrolling age, as far as I'm concerned, if my image doesn't make you stop scrolling, then I didn't do a good enough job. So that keeps me on my toes. It keeps me disciplined. It keeps me having to learn, relearn, unlearn. But the word discipline, man, you know, like you said, having a routine that you have in the morning. And I think that started with us, with our education, the way that you're raised, because they already instilled that routine. But discipline, I feel like there's nothing that you're going to accomplish in this world, whatever it may be, without the discipline. I think discipline is where everything starts, um, because it's just what consistently gets you to decide. If you say, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 in the morning, go to do this workout or go do this run, but the discipline to have that want and that need, that passion inside of you, whatever it is that drives you is going to drive you to maintain that discipline, because you're going to understand. If you don't understand it early enough, you're going to understand later on, or as you go, you're trying to work towards whatever goals it is that you're trying to work towards, that discipline is necessary. Missing one day leads to missing a second day, and then all of a sudden you're off your track to your goals. So to me, uh, discipline, and I think it works with, it brings certain other words. When you start talking about discipline, you start hearing consistency, you start hearing structure. It brings other things, I think, into play that will come together as a whole to help you or the individual or the team get to their goals or wherever they're trying to get to.
It always, comes back because it really separates the winners from the others. And I'm not saying that to, again, downplay anyone, because when I hear, you know, comments in regards to, holding people up to high regard, whether, again, the Bezos and the Vaynerchuks and, the Tony Robbins of this world, these are people who have put in the time, put in the work, put in, as you said, the consistency. And I even put up a post on Instagram today, just about, and it was very basic because, again, all the posts I put up, the little quotes, is something that I was just having in my head just now. And for me, it was very simple. Remember when we were kids, we were playing Nintendo or Super Nintendo?
Yep.
Mario, Donkey Kong, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, whatever. We didn't, again, I'm dating myself, but before cheat codes, we just put in the work, It's like,
Yeah.
okay, if I want to beat this level, I'm going to have to put in the work. I'm going to die. I'm going to restart the whole game, but you put in the work. And it, again, how much does it mean to you? And I was wondering if you've ever had, what did your journey look like? Because we talk a lot, but I've never at the core asked you what birthed that entire, fuel or passion for photography. And what does your journey look like, going from the first time you picked up a camera to the skilled and talented photographer we know today? What was that like?
Man, I realize that sometimes in life, we forget um, where something actually started. With photography, um, I can't tell you, my business is probably going on 4 years old now. And I've had before that, I still had the modeling career that put me in front of the camera for probably over 15 years. But when I really dial it back, my grandfather was a photographer and had a studio in Haiti, um, downtown, very close to the Palais National. He was a very famous artist as well, and so that had my mother started with the camera. We always had a camera at home, and she always took pictures of us. It was something that was consistent at my house. On the weekends, on Sundays, when you go into church, it was something that was consistent for my mom to have a camera and to take pictures of us. So I think when I really dial it back and look into all of this, it's something that I was used to. When I met my wife, and I've had my camera. I've always had a camera. I had my camera. For her, it was uncomfortable. She didn't like the camera in her face. But I had to learn that, well, she didn't grow up that way. She didn't. It's not. They didn't do that in her at her house. Take pictures and have all these memories that we have. Go to Monsieur Henri if my mom wanted to be a part of the shot and do all this stuff. Like, that's something that started back then. Now, as far as when I come back to today, wanting to get into this photography industry, and I realize that I'm a people's person, and when I do photography, I really try to show someone a part of them that they almost didn't know existed. It's almost like therapy. I'm also a
Mm-hmm.
massage therapist, so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the stuff that I learned in massage therapy I carry with me no matter what it is that I'm doing. So when I do photography, I hear something all the time with my clients. It's a reoccurring theme for them telling me, "Is this me?" after they get their images. And
Wow.
that I hear that a lot. And it's you don't ever get used to it because you've captured them so well or a side of them so well that they're surprised at themselves, and it gives them this boost of confidence or this disbelief that, oh my god, I don't know, I can't, I'm at a loss of words. That's what I don't even know what to tell you. And so I started to understand and even explain to my wife that there's a deeper meaning to just taking a picture. I have this quote that I use. I use it all the time for some of my
Mm-hmm.
images. Is one image 1,000 words,
Yep.
because it just creates, and that's just for us looking like you know how you often send me these images
Yep.
that but you have absolutely no idea like what it did to that particular person or what that particular person was dealing with or going through or was feeling, um, and then you were able to create or show her a side of her or him or whatever that he didn't think or she didn't think existed. And it turns into motivating somebody. It turns into showing them that they could do. When I say anybody can model, I mean anybody can model. I don't just shoot models. If I'm going through my Instagram looking for somebody and I see something in someone, I will send them a message. Say, hey, you interested in doing a photo shoot? And the first words that could happen, they say yes, no, no, not really. And then, but 9 times out of 10 at this point, they agree.
Mm-hmm.
And I proceed to have a kind of a meeting to see where they're at, what they're thinking, where their head is at, and I build to try to create something that they don't have. I go through their social media if they have one, and I go through this process of creating something that they've never done, um, and show them a different side of themselves. Um,
Mermaid shots.
mermaid shot. This one mermaid shot was going crazy out of nowhere. And it's so funny because social media is weird, and I love Gary's perspective, Gary V, on social media, and because if I put something that's sexy, the likes and everything just comes like crazy. When I put something that's more artistic or portrait, or it definitely does not get the same type of interest. But when you're comfortable enough with what you do with your work and you're happy with it, it really doesn't matter because you're happy and the person is happy. And it doesn't matter after that, you're happy with what you've created.
There you go. Because it says a lot about, staying true to you. And that's why the term do you, as far as I can surmise anyway, means so much along your own personal journey. I use these words very heavily, and I'm sure you can relate, you can piggyback on it if you want, because do you is a very powerful statement, because you need to
Yes.
understand that your reality is your own, your journey is your own, your struggle is your own, your pain is your own, your revelation, your elevation is your own. And I'm not sure, because again, for the people who are listening, who are wrestling with that, who want to say, not just for photography, but let's just piggyback on it. I want to be as good a photographer as Rich. I want to be as successful as a, multimedia mogul as Gary V. I want to build a record empire like Puffy. So many things where at the core, and you learn this through a growth process, that it's not about comparison. It's about, acceptance and building from there. And I was wondering if you could just educate us on that, because you're someone who obviously has a very deep connection with your personal self, your own personal truth. And I'm wondering, was that hard for you, or was that something that, that you never had to wrestle with? But for those of us who are listening, who are struggling with that, that uncertainty of leaning into our self, how can you help us, Rich?
I think that for me personally, being that I went to school for massage therapy, that part of my life, everything that I've learned, because I went into I did Asian massage and Western massage, and I can quote the founder of philosophical Taoism, Lao Tse. He has this quote that says, "Because one believes in oneself, one doesn't try to convince others. Because one is content with oneself, one doesn't need others' approval. Because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her." So,
Okay.
that being said, and he's a person that really was deep into that I've learned a lot about with the Asian massage. So that started to help me understand myself, get into yourself to learn about you and who you are and build your confidence in yourself. And that's a process that takes time. It takes a lot of time for you to get to the point where you trust yourself. And I think for different people, it's going to be challenging. But for me, the my formation into the massage therapy of learning to not allow people to affect my emotional and psychological well-being is started that path for me. Um, and then it just comes into, if it's, for example, photography, it just, like you said, putting in the work and building. You build, you learn, and in this day and age, there's nothing that you want to learn that you can't learn. There's YouTube. There's nothing that you want to do today that you can't find on the internet. And so when I decided to do photography, for example, I knew basic things, but I really jumped in. I started to do the work. I started to, okay, first with the camera systems. Let me see what camera I can get. And I look at every single camera. I look at 1,000 reviews on every single camera, and then I pick one. Okay, so we start with the camera. What lens? You do the same process. That's my process. I go through the same process. Look at lens. Okay, I'll start with a 50 millimeter, 1.8. Perfect. So I have a camera with a 50 millimeter lens. Again, this is a crop sensor. Mind you, it looks like a point and shoot. Very small
Hmm.
camera, where people don't even take you seriously when they see it.
Obviously.
But I've done so much with that little camera, and I started to put discipline, consistency, and learning. Just you have to go through the process of making mistakes, learning from what's around you, using the internet to better your skills, and practicing. Um, I just and I believe I just at that point where I believe that I have to put in the work. I believe that nothing worth having comes easy.
It's so
Abs-
true. It's
Absolutely
so
nothing
true.
worth
It's
having
so
comes
true.
easy. You just have to put in the work. You
It
just got to
sounds
do it. And
stupid. It
but you know
sounds
what? You know what? I think that in today's world, we forget how simple things are when you come down to simplify everything.
a lot of people are going to actually tell you, like, it can't be that simple, Rich.
Oh, but it is. We tend to complicate things. We tend to complicate things. You want to lose 50 pounds in the next 3 months. What do you do? Some of us are gonna look for pills, and we're gonna be trying different pills. Okay, this one doesn't work. This one, let me find another one. This one has better reviews. And there's that one person that's gonna look at their diet. That's gonna look at, okay, when can I work out? Um, okay, I see what I can do with my workout. I can work out 3 times a day. I could put 45 minutes in my workout. Okay, I can change my diet. I could lower my carbs intake. I could stop sugar and get on it.
It's a process.
Make the decision to just do it. And here comes that word again, discipline.
Discipline.
Once you decide to do that, you make like Will Smith has this video that I used to watch almost every morning. He just says, you just decide what it's gonna be, who you're gonna be, and how you're gonna do it. And he said the universe is gonna get out your way. And to me,
Because
it's as simple as that.
it's so simple, and it's really energizing to hear you say that, because when you understand and when you decide to commit and to let go of the excuses, of the justifications, of the limitations, you will be pretty surprised how the universe will align to, like, really align you towards what you want. It's really basic, but it's so true. And if I can take just this podcast as an example, I started this podcast on my phone. I did not tell myself, you know what, in 3 years, I'm going to be 112 episodes in, you know? But every so often, somebody tells me, you're still doing that? You're still doing that? And you deal with the process. You deal with the process. You deal with the process because you're doing it for you. And my
Yes.
wife has been my champion. My kids have been seeing me having fun. But hey, you're recording all over the world. Time differences, man. You're going to wake up at 2 a.m. to record? Not a problem. You want to wake up,
First,
you want to record at 10 p.m.? Not a problem. I'll be there.
you ever heard this quote that says, discipline is rarely enjoyable, but almost always profitable?
It's always profitable because I know, and you know this, let's just take the gym analysis. You know how crappy you feel when you commit to going to to your workout. You know, you wake up in the morning, you don't want to go. You don't want to go. Your body is telling you, why should we get up? But you go there after a workout, 30, 45 minutes to an hour. You walk out of there jazzed, energized. Let's attack this day. Let's get it.
Yes.
Every single person. There's nothing fun about putting your body through pain. But the second you walk away, you reap the benefits.
Yes. And that's that. You just make that decision.
You
Like
have
with
to
my
decide.
crazy schedule right now, I had built a gym in the garage because I don't have time to go to the gym anymore. So I don't make that an excuse. I worked and I built the gym and I put a gym in the garage. So wake up at 6 in the morning, get the kids ready, take them to school. By the time I come back home, it's 8 a.m. Okay, I have from 8 to 9 to get a quick workout in before I have to get ready for work. That's it.
That's it.
And
You
it
just fit it
doesn't
in.
mean that, I might have been on the computer till 2 in the morning the night before working, but it's the whole time from getting inside of that gym, and I don't have to drive to the gym, is grueling. The first 5 minutes for me is grueling. Then 10 minutes in, I start to get into it. And
The
then
zone.
you start to get in your zone. You listen to whatever your music or your motivational talks, and then I get into it. And by the time I'm getting out, I'm feeling good already. So that whole process of just the simplicity of just deciding to do something, and as like building a wall. You don't build a whole wall. You lay a brick. The best possible way you could lay that
The
one
best
brick.
possible brick.
Yeah, and soon you have a wall, but it takes patience. That's another thing. It takes time. You
People
know,
are impatient these days.
of course. And you know what? One of the things that I started to do really this year, and we kind of touched on that, is always, no matter what the situation is that I'm dealing with, I always look at myself first. And this is something that I battle with my wife because, for example, if I have an influencer that reaches out to me for a photo shoot or for a collaboration, and I feel like, okay, it may be a good possible collaboration for me, and I rearrange my whole schedule to make this photo shoot happen, and then they cancel, and my wife would get really mad. And me, uh, more and more this year, this is something that I started to work on. I look at myself and I say, well, you decided to do this. You decided to arrange this collaboration with this particular model.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on you. So you know what that does to me? That means I don't allow anybody, anything that I choose to do, that I decide to do, no matter what happens, even if it's something else, someone else that did something, I look at myself.
Okay, you take ownership.
I take ownership of it. And not like a blame thing, not like I'm blaming myself, but I take ownership of it. And when you take ownership of this stuff, it's just, you're independent from anybody else. There's a peace of mind that comes with that because no one dictates what you decide to do or not do. It's on you. It's all on you. I'm really doing this more this year because last year I might have been, why did I decide to do this collaboration with her and start beating myself up? I did all this stuff and enough of that. It was your choice.
You own up to it. You really take ownership of the situation no matter what comes.
No matter what it is. And then you move forward. It gives you this sense of freedom and power, really, because you have nobody else to blame but yourself. But it's also not a blame thing. Like, I don't want to use the word blame because it's not a good word. It's just ownership. Ownership is a much better word.
Just ownership. Ownership
Yeah.
is definitely something that, that resonates, because I want to talk a little bit about that, because for someone as centered and as aware and enlightened as you are, through, again, the ruckus and the everyday grind that you have to go through, support system, not just from your spouse, your kids, who are very even at the core of your life, your immediate family, but in terms of, and this is for those people who are listening, who are always coming to me, where I DM or indirectly, talking about, yeah, I want to move forward. I understand that maybe, my immediate surroundings might not be good for me, but I'm afraid of upsetting people. I understand that people are not aligned. You know, when you reach that point, Rich, when you need to cause that friction to separate because you know you need to get to the next level and you need to free yourself from the toxicity of your immediate environment. And we have to be very real. Sometimes the people closest to you might be the worst people for you.
It's
And
usually
how
the
can
people
we
closest to
guide
you.
them? And that's the thing. I was wondering if you could have some thoughts about how do we guide people towards, that necessary step towards reaching the next level, because I understand that there's no getting around it.
Oh, you're right. There's no getting around it, and I think for different situations, you'll have different ways of handling it. But if I use my example, um, when I started to get into the photography and taking the boudoir and the sexy images of these women, my wife came up to me and she said, when you were doing the photography, doing the trips and everything else, it was great. But now you're doing something that's making me feel uncomfortable. And you're my husband, I'm your wife, and I'm telling you that this is making me feel uncomfortable. So you need to stop. So this is for me. This kind of opened up a conversation, and
Okay.
I had to try to explain to her. I had to take it back a little bit to explain to her about where I come from and how most of my life has been dedicated to my mom, to my sister, and I've never really been able to do something that I want and something that I love. I had to start with that. But then I had to get to the point to make her understand that I'm not being disrespectful to you or not acknowledging the fact that you're uncomfortable. But it doesn't work that way. I said I can't stop because of whether it's a level of discomfort, whether it's a level of trust, whether it's a level of fear. Those are yours. That's your fear and your discomfort. And trying to explain that without being selfish, you have to kind of be a little bit selfish because you have to make the person understand that this is your life, your passion, something that you want to do. And as long as you go and you do what you have to do respectfully and that's what you want to do. And, at that point you have two choices. For me, I had two choices. Either I stop and who knows where I would be today, or I sit and I try to explain to her and we get into this kind of situation where it becomes a process.
Right.
It becomes a process. And it got really bad because it becomes a process. And I just decided that I wasn't going to stop. I'm not going to stop. And this is a situation where this is a person closest to you. And this is, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to do what I have to do, but we're going to try to work towards making you understand and showing you that this is just something that I love.
And this is you, if I'm understanding, because again, it's very important for people to understand this very clearly. From a married man myself, I can definitely understand your perspective, but this is you also saying you don't reject or you don't negate her perspective as well, as in like, what are you talking about? Like, chill, but you are genuinely validating her concerns. Like, I understand where you're coming from. So everything. It's
Yes,
important to have that dialogue.
Yes, it's important to have dialogue and show understanding and some compassion. And that was something that I had to work on because the brute honesty sometimes comes off as being borderline rude and really not being considerate of her feelings, So it's something that I had to kind of find a way to work on and probably work on my delivery. Because with my history, it's 26 years since my dad passed away this year, 10 years since my mom passed away.
It's been that long. Wow.
Yeah. And all of these things, they have an effect on my everyday life. So me deciding not to do something because of somebody else is just not going to happen.
It doesn't register.
No, it's not happening. And sometimes it really doesn't matter who it is. It's just not happening. And in the case of my wife, I have to explain and work and take that process with her versus if it was someone else that, somebody that doesn't approve of my pictures or somebody else that thinks my photography is not that great. And that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. I
There
don't
you go.
lose any sleep over it. It's
There you
fine.
go.
But this was a situation where, I had to make a decision and try to find a way to explain my passion and my position and my history, because my history is very important. I always try to. My wife grew up here, so a lot of times I have to give history, because if you don't understand where I come from,
Hmm.
there are a lot of things that I'm doing today that you're not going to be able to understand.
Thank you.
So a lot of times I have to take it back and give you a little history of for you to understand why I am the way that I am and
Culture,
why I operate.
upbringing, family dynamic, personal trauma, loss, all that creates the being that is you.
Yes,
And if no matter how intimate that you are within a relationship, there are certain vantage points that are very difficult or that need a lot more nurturing, a lot more communication, a lot more collaboration to help the other person understand. And if you don't be very careful, if you're not very careful with that, that's when sparks fly. And I
yeah,
commend you guys for, having the empathy to communicate in that in such a very powerful way.
and the fact that I can say that the thing that caused me the most pain in my life is what drives me today. I am not the man that I am today without my mom passing away. I'm just not. And that is crazy. It's what I call the irony of life.
Hmm.
But it's crazy that that same thing drives me. It drives me every day because I've just decided at some point that because of all the work and the sacrifices and everything that we've seen our mothers and fathers do, I've decided that I will not be a failure at anything that I decide to do.
You stay committed to your
That's
why.
it.
Your why
Period.
is that clear
Period.
for you.
And it's not just about photography. It includes being a father, it includes being a husband, it includes, doing photography, whatever it is that I decide to do, I'm gonna do what I have to be great or the best at it. Period.
No apologies.
No, none, none whatsoever.
And a lot of people would be so quick to actually judge you and like, oh, he's so arrogant. That's a little bit cocky. That's a tall order. But why not elevate yourself or have ambitions of greatness? Why not have ambitions of, not superiority, but, perfection is unattainable, but excellence is something definitely I try to instill in my kids anyway, that you should strive for. And I'm pretty sure throughout all the conversation that we have thus far, is that something that you resonate with as well. Why not, shoot for the moon? Because a lot of people are just, why are some people always so afraid of greatness? As if like, I'm pretty sure you agree. You are a talented photographer, but anyone who would put in as much grind as you or more could actually do it too on their own journey. But some people are just too, comfortable into the day to day, into the mundane, into the, average.
Yeah, they're
And again, I'm
content.
trying, I'm seeming condescending. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to just like, wake people up. Oh, okay, shameless plug. But we're really trying to help people understand that you need to shift, you need to pivot, you need to actually strive to do better. But why are they so afraid?
Man, I think that it's not for everybody. It's just not for everybody. I think certain people are just content with just living, and just being there. And I think some people are just content with that. It's not meant for everybody to be a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. It's just not.
It's not. That
There
would
are
be too
basketball
easy.
players that get there, and they get there, they're content, and you can literally tell If you use the NBA as a smaller scale, as for, let's say, the NBA was the world, like you were
Mm-hmm.
doing this analogy, you can tell the difference between those that are content, those that show up here and there, and those that show up every single day. They just know it's literally no days off. It's literally, it's crazy, this being that I was in massage therapy, this guy, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant, this guy tore his Achilles and
Yeah, man.
walked, shot his free throws, and walked off the court. You know how much pain this guy was in, and you
He
couldn't see it in his
walked.
face. It's just pure grit and mental. His mind is just on another level. It's just on another level.
Because people don't
That,
understand what a torn Achilles means.
yeah,
Like
but does
you,
this mean that he has something better than us? No, he's human just like us. He's just. I don't know if you ever watched his interview with Patrick Bet David.
no, no, I
You
haven't.
you need
I should get on that.
check it out. This man's mind is just on another level. It's just on another level, and it makes you feel like, oh, I need to step my game up like yesterday.
You have no excuse. You have no excuse.
Yeah,
You have no excuse because these days and over the past year, just like you, I've been doing a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflection. And again, I've learned to be very empathetic in regards to, you know what? I'm not comparing myself. I'm just trying to work on me and do the best I can with me. And it's only the people around me that are going to benefit from that. I need to take ownership of me. And that's, as you said, it's a process. Because for a lot of times I was doing a lot of, just blaming myself and, just every single thing that was going wrong is myself. But when you take ownership, and I thank you for, shifting the word for me, not, don't blame yourself, take ownership. There are good days, there are lesser days, but when you take ownership of your reality, you can actually take control. You can actually understand, okay, what can we adjust? What can we modify? What can we eliminate? And what can we benefit from? You need to take ownership of your everyday. And I thank you for bringing that up because it's a very powerful statement. We need to stop using limiting words and limiting thoughts and elevate ourselves to a greater good because, it's important to start with the mind. Man,
yeah, yeah.
it's always fun. It's
And
always
and
fun.
this year too, I mean, another thing that drives me that I feel like not a lot of people worry about it, think about. I always say I think that the true asset for me is time because it's like completely different. Because if for I can always make more money, I can get more time. So a lot of times with my clients, I always tell them, do not waste my time,
Don't waste my
or
time.
anybody, don't waste my time because you can't give it back to me. So yeah, that to me, that's another thing that uh, I think we get lost in money and fame and all these and likes,
Mm-hmm.
but time, to me, time is the real asset that a lot of us think that that we take for granted. Um,
Because I can definitely see that because for the amount of work that you put out, and I know the stuff that we see, I'm only guessing all the stuff that we don't see. The missed appointments, maybe the lost shot, bad lighting, again, rescheduling and everything. And as always, every day we've got the wonderful grid. We have the amazing images. We have the consistent work. And I'm only thinking, okay, 3 shots from Rich, but I'm only thinking of the incredible amount of images that we don't see. So with that, that also equals time. That's a lot of time
Time.
that you're spending and curating and
Time.
culling and editing and cutting and
Yeah.
proofing. And, you're still booking, you're going to work and you're taking care of the kids. And it's something that I definitely understand and resonate with. And this is not even comparing because it totally equates to what I'm going through. Like, imagine, okay, for every 1 hour episode, and I'm being very consistent, very conservative, imagine like at least 4 hours of editing. 100 times. That's all the episodes that maybe I could have recorded, interviews that didn't get there, the people who didn't show up, interviews that were canceled, audio that's bad, editing and more editing. That's time away
Yeah.
from my kids, away
Yeah.
from your wife, that you're
Yeah.
not at the barbecue, that you're not going to the
Yeah.
beach, or you're not, just doing stuff
Hmm.
because you're putting in time for your passion. And people
So
need to understand that there's work involved into success.
yeah,
There's work.
and you know what the other key word I think comes with everything
Go,
that you just said?
go ahead.
Balance.
Wow.
Balance.
It's true. I missed that one. You're right.
Because
You're right. You're right.
because like in my life, you know, balancing it all to me is what keeps you grounded to a certain point. Um, when you put in all this work and all this time away from the family, I make it a very important part of my day to balance it out, or my week to balance it out. And that the only person, I always say this somewhere, the only person that will pay the price for this is me. So I'll cut some of my sleep to spend more time with my wife. I'll cut some of my sleep to spend more time with my kids. Because if I had a photo shoot to go do at that time when I was tired, I would. If I had to go to the gym, I would. So being tired doesn't stop me from doing everything else. So
That's
why
true.
should it stop me from spending time with my kids? Why should it stop me from spending time with my wife? And why should it even stop me from going and listening to Monique for 2 hours?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find me on a day where I'm exhausted and I'll say, you know what? Monique is playing tonight. I'm going to go there for 2 hours and get my mind off of things.
Go hang out.
Tired or not. So I keep the same energy. I keep the same energy. The same energy that would, whether I would have to report to work, whether I would have to report to a photo shoot, whether I'd have to report to whatever it may be. I think the same energy needs to be kept with the family and needs to be kept with giving yourself a little bit of time for yourself. Because going one way, just working and working and working and working, eventually it starts affecting you. And
Oh yeah.
eventually your work, your the quality of your work is going to start being affected. Your patience, if you work with other people, even your patience with yourself is going to start going down, and it's going to affect your end product. So this is something that I tell my wife, and she always says, "Oh, you're much better at that." I tell her, I said, if you're here and we're here at home and we woke up in the morning, had the kids in the morning, she's in the kitchen and she preps a meal and we eat, the whole family eats. If I see her going in there to do the dishes or to put the dishes in the dishwasher, I have to force her out of the kitchen just so she understands. Come and sit down and spend a little time with your family. Like that's
Yeah.
something that I do. But again, I do it because also I understand the value in that because I didn't have it, or I had it with one parent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I didn't have when I'm with my son today. I'm with my son as a father, and I'm with my son as a kid as well, because that's something that I didn't get to enjoy.
That is foreign to you.
Yes, and my wife still has both her parents around, but that whole idea of, I guess, balancing and using your time wisely as far as prioritizing what's really important. what's really important. Spending time with your wife and your kids is one of the top priorities. It's up there.
Again,
So
discipline.
yeah,
Discipline.
it comes back to discipline. But I think you can have discipline and not prioritizing your life the right way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think it's very necessary to
To
have
prioritize.
that prioritize and have that balance. So
I definitely connect with that.
as
That's
good
true.
as discipline is, you have to be able to balance it right, prioritize and balance right, you know, especially if
And
you have 100,000 things going on at the same time.
that is so true. That is so true.
Because we
And
all only
again,
have 24 hours. It's 24 hours.
everybody has the same 24
It's
hours. Everybody has the
24
same
hours.
24 hours. And you know what? The clock starts every other day, but everybody has the same 24 hours. Some people go to sleep at 2 a.m. Some people go to sleep at 4. Some people have 12-hour shifts. Some people work from home. Some people have 2 kids. Some people have a
Yeah.
spouse. Some people are single parents. And, that is so true. And just listening to your words and the reality of the day to day, because we connect offline as well. And because I resonate with that so well, because for me, it's something also I had to adjust because when I go hard. So you're always pushing, for the work. You're showing up for everybody else. But when you're realizing that, hey, you're taking time away from, that little nugget of importance that's called your family, your wife and your kids. You have a duty as a husband. You have a duty as a father. And it's important to always remember where your priorities lay. I had that conversation with my wife. Like, listen, this passion project called the podcast, I really need you to let me know because I'm a workaholic. I know myself. So if ever this becomes a hindrance or a problem or comes between us, you need to let me know so I can pull the plug. If you don't let me know, I don't want any form of toxicity like down the road where I figure out like, okay, so this has been, a stone in your throat for the past year. You need to let me know. But also I need to take ownership myself. Like, listen, I build my interviews as I'm very transparent about it. I build my interviews around my life. Like, listen, okay, recording just before the kids go to bed is a very bad idea.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
so if we can record afterwards, so far the guests have been very accommodating and I have no qualms about it. The guests who are not available during those times, if I can accommodate, I can. But if I can't, listen, the universe is not meant for us to record. And I'm very sorry about that, but that's my life. What do you want me to
Yeah.
do?
I
I
mean,
have to be there for my kids,
yes,
you know?
yes, yes,
So it's definitely
and
something you have to accept your reality, and you make no apologies for what your life is or what your obligations and priorities are.
yeah,
It's a very important thing you have to accept.
yeah, and I think with those of us that are married, I think it comes down to also a lot of communication. It comes down to communication. There are times where you're gonna have to go harder because you're trying to accomplish something, and that's something that I have to talk about. Yeah, there are times where I have to
Hmm.
travel for the photography. There are times when, I'm on set for a whole day, and those are sacrifices that I think they're making along for me to get to where I'm trying to get to.
Oh,
You
that's so
know,
true.
and it all has to do with communication. My kids make a difference between my regular job and photography. And my daughter will ask me, "Are you going because you have to go? Or are you going because you want to go?"
Wow.
Okay, that's my 7-year-old.
Wow.
That's what she's. Are you going because you have to or because you want to?
And you
So
have to be
she
very real.
already understands the difference. So, so yeah,
You raised her well. If she can actually come up to you with the openness to ask the question and, with being able to make the differentiation, that's a bright kid. That's a really bright kid.
the communication is important. You know, we try to accommodate, and we after you have the discipline and you balance. Um, Communicating is important. Um, because like tonight, okay, I had to tell her, okay, I'm doing this podcast. So as soon as I got home, I made sure I put the kids to bed. Just like you, make sure I put the kids to bed, make sure they're
For
in their
sure.
their room so that we can do this. You know?
And it's a very it all comes back to what matters to you. And I keep bringing this back because I had a
Mhm.
conversation with a gentleman, Thierry Lindol, a couple of years ago, well, basically like maybe 2 years ago. And for some reason, I'm always very appreciative and so grateful for all the wisdom that comes out of these conversations. But for some reason, those stayed with me, and they're very simple. What are you willing to suffer for? And when I use those words, it's not about being condescending in terms of like, oh, okay, this is a chore or this is, a condemnation. No, no, no. What matters to you enough to put in the work, to show up, to make these sacrifices, to have these conversations with your spouse, to take time away from your kids, to lose sleep over? What are you willing to suffer for? And it all about it for you. It's your why. You talked about, I will not be a failure because I have seen and lost and put in and sacrificed way too much. I have been through too much. Let's put it that way, to be a failure. And that is your very heartfelt and sincere why. And that's something I really tip my hat off to you. But for all the excellence that you strive for, and I really wanted to ask you this because for all of your achievements, and I ask this of all my champions, the people who I'm fortunate enough to collaborate with and to speak with and, to learn from, how do you stay humble? Because I compare it like Chris Rock. When you listen to his first comedy album, you can hear that he was a young, hungry comic just trying to just explore and trying to do his best work. And you keep putting out your best work, Rich, but there has to be at the core something inside of you that still drives you and keeps you, level, not big headed, not letting the accolades or, recommendations or, just acknowledgments and likes get to your head. How do you stay humble, Rich, to keep
Well,
going and keep pushing and keep being creative?
the first thing is that I always feel like there's room for improvement. So while everybody's looking at me and think that I'm there or I'm this type of photographer or I'm the best that they've seen, that's their perception and their opinion. I always feel like I have so much more to learn. So I'm nowhere near where I'm trying to get to. That's the first part. Um, staying humble is easy. Uh, when you realize that the type of education that we had, and you realize that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and you respect it. It's just very simple to me. I don't ever think that I'm this or that I'm that. I stay at my level. I always say when I get a compliment about a picture or about how I dress, I to me it's humbling. It's thank you. And I often have to say, so most of when you grow up in Haiti, everybody knows who your parents are. They know, oh, let's say Dr. Lecoin. Like they already know where you come from and why you look the way that you look. A lot of times, oftentimes here in the States, I find myself saying, well, I had nothing to do with this. It's just my parents. I inherited this. I had to do with keeping in shape, but everything that you see, I got from my parents. When it comes to the photography, it's my art. I'm comfortable with it. I'm completely happy with what I put out. I'm completely at peace with what I put out. And I'm completely open to anybody's opinion about it, good or bad. And I won't lose any sleep over it. I'm I'm just at a very comfortable level when it comes to myself. Um, and I'm still building. I'm unlearning, relearning. Uh, so I'm still building. I when I hear those things about the photography, I always say, well, I'm not even close to where I'm trying to get to. So so for me, it's I always accept it. I love to hear it, and it just drives me even more, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, they have absolutely no idea. Like I'm doing this with a full-time job, a wife, and 3 kids. And my question is always, what's going to happen when I quit my job
Can you imagine?
and I have an extra, and I have an extra what 10 hours a day to focus on photography. That's 50 hours a week. What do you think happens then?
When you unleash.
When I'm actually able to give 110%. Because this is the other part. Most people that are on my business page have absolutely no idea that, I have a full-time job or that I have family and 3 kids. Most of
Yeah,
them don't know. They have
they
absolutely
don't
no
know the
idea.
reality.
And when you're talking to a random person that doesn't know you on a DM and it's 2 in the morning and you say, "Yeah, you could send me a message. I'll be up." And then they say, "Yes, I know." And I'm like, wow. So
Yeah,
people just realize that they figure you're always up because you're always posting because they just don't, people that know me just don't understand.
they don't
But
factor it in.
it comes back to work and discipline and consistency and determined to, I mean, I've built my business just on Instagram. That's it. I have not even explored all the other outlets of social media. So to me, I'm just scratching the surface. I have not done all that I can do to put myself in the position where I want to be yet.
I believe you.
So I,
I believe you.
and I'm also not mad at myself because I know that I go hard every day, but I know that it's a process. I know that I have to be patient and continue to do what I'm doing. So
Stay the course, stay
yes,
authentic, stay consistent, and again, stay disciplined.
yeah,
No, it's the basics. That's why I wanted to have you on because we totally understand each other. We totally align each other, but people need to hear this. This is basics, basics, guys. It's not about, a multi-million-dollar course. It's not about, following a bunch of videos. And I'm not negating people who are just trying to better themselves. Again, it's important to read. It's important to educate yourself, but don't forget through this very empowering exchange I've just had with Rich, it's very important to just remember that at the core, the basics apply. Discipline, show up, do something you're passionate about, put in the work, try to better yourself through every step. And as Will Smith said put in the brick, just one brick, and lay the best possible brick you can. No one else can put in that brick better than you. And then do it again and
and again,
again
yeah,
and again. Crazy.
yeah,
Because like you said, people try to overcomplicate things when it's actually very simple. But you can't let it. You can't let it. As you said, you're supposed to stay humble. Don't let it get to your head and just figure out, what works for you and do you. As long as you're not hindering on somebody else's well-being, just do you. The
yeah.
universe will take care of the rest.
It's
Figure it out. You will
yeah,
figure it
it's
out.
your
But it's up to
responsibility.
you.
You want it bad enough, then it's your responsibility to make it happen. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Rich, as always, it always pains me when I have to, just come up on top of the hour and realize that, what, we could go for hours on end. And
Yeah.
I'm always so appreciative, really, man, both on and offline. But thank you so much for being part of this adventure and being part of the Awaken the Awesome journey. Rich, I can't thank you enough for your friendship, your wisdom, your empowering message, your phenomenal, talented photography. Guys, if you have not checked out Richard Lecoin Photography on Instagram, please. It's not even a matter of likes. It's a matter of appreciation, consideration, and admiration. I don't care about if you like photography or not. I just want you to appreciate skill. I want you to appreciate consistency. And I want you to appreciate what drive and a clear definition of passion and purpose looks like in the visual form. So please go check out Instagram, Richard Lecoin Photography. Definitely the links will be on the blog post once it goes live. But Rich, aside from Instagram, that's the best place to find you, right?
That is the best place to find me at the moment. But this year's goal is to get on every platform. So I'm working on that. But
As you know,
yes,
running tradition of the podcast, just last question. But again, as always, leaving the floor up to the guest. Call to action. You've left us so many nuggets and gems over the conversation, but hey, running tradition, we have to follow it. A quote, an elevated thought, a call to action, or even a meme, a sonnet, or again, anything that the listeners can listen and actually come up with tomorrow, taking the next step. I'm sorry, towards the next level. What can we leave them with?
I think in this world that we're living in, I think that people are more focused on what they need to survive and less focused on what they dream about. Um, so for me, we think about the likes, we think about, I need likes, I need this, I need that. But what do you dream about? What do you want to be? I think it's important that in this world today to focus on the things that we deeply love or that we're deeply passionate about, and focus on doing what we need to do to get those things versus just focusing on the wrong things, on the buying the likes or the buying the followers or how many followers. To me, that's I feel like we're losing sight of what's really important. So to me, that's the message that I would leave this podcast with today. There's something that you want to do, there's something that you want to accomplish. You figure it out and you get focused. You draw up your plan, stay consistent, you balance yourself, and you make it happen.
Simple as that. Doesn't need to be any more complicated.
Yep.
My man. Guys, this has been another amazing and empowering episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. As always, my guys, thank you so much for being part of this Awaken the Awesome journey. Your support is invaluable. Be sure to, share the episode if you found some value. I don't see why not, but please do share the episode. Send us some appreciation. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Share the episode on Instagram at ATA Podcast. Guys, it's always a pleasure to be able to serve you for the greater good, hoping that you find as much empowering messages and calls to action towards your next level and to better your journey. My thanks to my guest, Richard Lecoin, talented and amazing photographer and a man of many talents, but also dedicated husband, proud father, and a guy of so much energy and amazing wisdom. Richard, I can't thank you enough. Guys, another episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast in the can. Guys, as always, stay loved, stay blessed, stay resilient, and please do stay awesome. This has been another episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. We always love to get your feedback, so please do drop us a line via Instagram, Facebook, or email. Our email address, awakentheawesome@gmail.com. Do visit our official website at awakentheawesome.ca, where you can find our entire back catalog of episodes and incredible guests. Also, if you haven't already, please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, give us a rating, and leave us a review, as this helps us tremendously in growing this podcast and spreading the word to more awesome listeners like you. We always appreciate your support, and thank you for listening. Stay awesome.